you, audience, for joining in. Please like and subscribe and share. It really helps the channel. Every little view counts. Yeah, and I really want to continue doing these things for you. And yeah, thank you once again. It's a bit later in the day. You might feel a little more firelight and evening at the moment. So yeah, just welcome to another discussion. We're having a discussion with Denvor, and please forgive me if I'm not saying your surname correctly. Phokaners. But yeah, welcome.
Phokaners.
Phokaners.
Denvor Phokaners. Denvor Phokaners.
Yeah, sorry. Where does the surname come from?
The surname, I think, is a bit of a made-up surname. So if you go up to the E, Phokane, you will see that's a Sotho surname.
Yes.
And then RS, we're not too sure what happened there. So there are two stories. The one story says that because my grandfather was the first so-called colored offspring of the Phokaners family, RS sometimes sounds as the Phokaners, but plural for it. So it's the Phokaners.
Okay, yeah, like a clan name.
But
almost, yeah.
Exactly. But now what happened is that from saying Phokaners, which would have been Sotho and would have been a giveaway in my grandfather's career, it went to Phokaners. And so that's kind of the story, and I stick to that story. I don't know.
It's a good story. It leads into my question of so how much do you identify with Trevor Noah and his title of his book, Born a Crime?
I'll never forget, as a child, remembering that while white people were voting, I remember we were told that if PFP, which was the Progressive Federal Party, if they came into power, we would then get rid of apartheid, and which means I could play whichever park I wanted to play, go to whichever beach, blah, 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 and so forth.
Obviously, so the important things.
But it was never, I can't say that it was something that we lived with every single day of our lives, though. And maybe if I had that experience as an adult, it might have been different.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
But as a child, it was very, very difficult. I mean, it was very different, though. And I think I remember moving into friends. I think it was it was sort of late 80s, or no, beginning 1990s. I remember when I moved into a flat in predominantly a white area in Wynberg in Cape Town, and we went digs, and I had two white flatmates.
Yes.
And one day we had a knock on the door. I used to have a red motorbike, a red Honda. It was parked outside the flat in the road, and I think we were on the second floor. And there was a knock on the door, and it was somebody asking one of my flatmates, "Tell me, is there the guy with the red motorbike? Does he live here?" And they're like, "Yeah." He says, "But does he know that he's not allowed to live here?" Referring to the Group Areas Act. And so I think as an adult, I mean, that one hurt a little bit. I mean, that was a little bit of, but you know what I mean? Offsides there. Because they weren't happy that I was staying there. And
so I just wanted to give a little bit of context and background. But that's your history, I guess, where you came from. But so just a very quick summary, I guess, about how you have found solutions to your living circumstance, because I know it's a very creative story in itself, in the sense of trying to solve a problem and finding creative solutions how to solve the problem of staying sane or staying motivated. And just about so I know you have, you've been a presenter on TV before, but I don't think anybody else would know about the other things you have done and what you are currently doing.
My neighbor asked me, or my neighbor, when we moved into the new place we moved into now, found out after Googling my name that I've done a few things, and he said to me, it must be wonderful having a life where you have so many interests and you've done so many things. And there's part of me that kind of gets what people are saying, but there's also part of me that goes, yeah, but maybe I've spread myself too thin. You know, I am a creative person, and I come alive especially when I'm doing something creatively. I play a little bit of music. I do a bit of songwriting, and yes, I did some presenting on television as well. A travel show that I did. Kind of the most successful thing that I ever done on television was this show called Mooiloop that I shot, I think 92 episodes of, went to over 60 towns around South Africa. I did a bit of Chopped South Africa. I did a few stints on Sevendelaan, on Generations, on Rhythm City. So I've done bits and pieces of that, and it brings me an enormous amount of joy. And I must say that and here's the funny thing about creativity, is that doing what I do and not being, I'm not like a known actor or big presenter or anything like that, so they don't pay me a lot of money to be in Sevendelaan or be in Generations. Is that little bit of money that they do pay me, I don't do it for the money because I can't make a living out of it. And I really look forward to waking up in the morning and going off to the studio to go and shoot for very little money. I often tell people that for me, TV is a paid hobby, to be honest with you. But it is where I feel I come alive. I'm not good at everything I do. Don't get me wrong. To feel that to come alive in doing what you enjoy doing doesn't necessarily mean that you're brilliant at it. So I'm never going to be South Africa's best presenter, that kind of thing. And I or actor, but I really enjoy doing it. I enjoy writing music. I was very fortunate enough to be able to have written a song for a soundtrack of an American animation movie called The Lion of Judah. And did a song, I Don't Care If It Rains, and it's in the title. The song is in the movie, and you can get it on iTunes as well, and so forth. I sat down with a friend of mine, and we wrote a sort of a little bit of it was like a little rap kind of thing on somebody dying with HIV or of AIDS, called Time Bomb. Next thing I submitted to my producer, and the next thing it went to on Algoa FM and on OFM. It went to number 3 on the chart and number 4. Can't remember if 3 and 4 on which one, but it was a top 5 song, we wrote. And so we never made money. Every now and then I see SAMRO, the South African Music Rights Organization, send me a small little check, and just to remind me that, oh yes, there was a song of mine in a movie or something. And then also I'm very fortunate, there's a song of mine running at the moment on I think on RSG, a song of mine called Time that I wrote for an album of mine.
I heard this,
a number of years back. Yeah, so I've got bits and little bits, and I'm a little bit, I would not recommend my life to anybody.
So I completely agree with you. It's the phrase jack of all trades. It's not an unfamiliar concept to a creative, especially a creative that's behind the scenes at more often than not. And even in today's where even if you're on camera, it's not the only thing that you need to do to keep going and continue to be the person in front of the camera. Yeah. Like just about everything on screen, there's a reason behind how it came onto the screen. And
correct.
And knowing how every little bit falls into place, it takes a while and it takes a bit of stretching to get there.
Correct.
Yeah, so I completely agree that being a jack of all trades, it might sound like it's derogatory, but it's the original meaning of the phrase. It came from a saying or something that it was actually in a positive light. It wasn't...
Sure.
It's only popular versions that put on the master of none, but it's the original one was actually a positive.
Just
thing.
jack of all trades, yeah. Look, I think there is something positive to look. When I go through a bit of self-doubt or a bit of depression, and feel like my life has come to no meaning, my wife is often the first one to remind me of all the things, of all the experiences I've been very fortunate enough to have. I mean, I think it was 3 years ago. It's now 2020. I think it was 3 years ago. I was asked to play in a movie. I played a monk. I don't know if
Lovely.
it was because of my bald head, but I flew to the Isle of Wight to go and shoot a movie there. And I don't know how I ended up in Isle of Wight shooting a movie. And then it just so happened that I had to direct the final night because the director had to fly out of the Isle of Wight, and I can't remember what the full story was there, but I just helped him direct a few scenes. And when I came back to South Africa, I get a phone call saying, listen, we liked what you did, and do you mind directing further on the South African leg of the movie? Okay, well, now I'm directing a movie. And then whilst directing that movie, the footage goes back overseas to England, and then they say, okay, fine, you know what, there are parts in the movie that we need to rewrite and redo, and we would like you now to come back to the Isle of Wight and then direct the movie further. And I was like, wow, you know, and
but how did that start? How did that first interaction go from you're trying to learn your lines and suddenly hear, oh, the director isn't here anymore? Well, what were those next steps?
A childhood friend of mine, his name is Bram Ackerman, and his dad, I used to wash his dad's car as my first job after school back in 1988. Okay. And his son became a doctor and landed up in England. He's living in Ireland, and he remembers me from when we were kids. I used to help him with one or two of his homework projects. And he obviously, I don't know how, but he gave me a call one day, I think through Facebook or something. He says, listen, Denvor, I would like you, I know you like acting, I would like you to come into this and do this movie with us. And I'll send you the script and I'll pay for you to come over. And I thought, great, even if the movie tanks, at least it would be a flight to Isle of Wight and just do what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So anyway, so long story short, when I got there, one thing I realized was that as we were shooting, there were a lot of things that I learned on the set of Mooiloop, and a lot of things that I've learned on that I saw the one director perhaps not doing when it came to shooting. All right.
Okay.
So for instance, they weren't doing close-ups, they weren't doing mid-shots and so forth. And I didn't want to say anything about it. And after about, I would say probably the third or fourth day, I whispered to Bram. I said, Bram, but when do we do close-ups? When do we do mid-shots? When do we do that? Anyway, I don't know what actually happened, but on the night before we wrapped in Isle of Wight, we needed to do another scene. So I said, listen, let me do it and I'll show you what I mean. So we started shooting these close-ups and stuff, and I directed this thing. And that's basically how it started. That's basically how it happened. Just
seeing something you recognize as maybe important, maybe somebody's not thinking about it, and just being honest about what you feel could help their position, not in a criticizing way, but obviously like just in a curious mindset about where you think they might not be. Their attention might not be on these nitty-gritty things yet.
So that was quite a nice feather in the cap. And the whole feature film was shot on cell phones, on smartphones.
Well done. And, you're now in a place where you're more focused on business and not really the management of film anymore, but so to speak, the management of other people apart from cameras. So you're more involved in the business sphere of things, but how would you relate needing creativity for your mental health?
Oh, it's so important. So I've been struggling with sort of clinical depression since 19. It's probably now onto 14 years now. And what I've noticed that every time I am involved with anything creative, I'm not even aware of any of my negative sort of thoughts and the depression that I often get. I often get these bouts of depression come over me, but it never happens when I'm creating anything. So when I'm working,
would they be happening when all the chips are down and when you're completely de-stressing and trying to forget everything, and you're not really having those energies at the right place?
Do you know what, Werner? Depression comes on unannounced, and there are a lot of different reasons why we get depressed. It's a conversation all on its own, but it comes unannounced. I mean, you can wake up in the morning and feeling that I wish I could just die now. Okay? Yeah. And there's no reason. Somebody can't tell you why. And, I tried to explain to somebody once, there's a lot of reasons why, what can add to depression. But what I am saying is that I'm never ever aware of it when I'm in a creative space. So let's give an example at work. So at work, what I do is I broker or I help big corporates spend money and support small businesses. Now, here's the thing. I could sit behind my desk and work the whole day, and I can almost feel, these negative thoughts come up, and I could feel, I'm not feeling well. And then suddenly, for some reason, I remember I have to do a presentation, for argument's sake. The moment I put everything down and start working on the presentation, you can imagine there's creativity involved there.
Yeah.
The moment I start doing that, I get caught up in all of that, and I lose myself in doing a presentation. Again, I'm not saying it's the best presentation. I'm just saying in that actual sort of a state, it's like it goes away. It's not there. It's not. I'm not even aware of it. It's almost like an escape. It doesn't happen when I have got to do tasks that I have to do, tasks that are outside of or non-creative tasks. Doesn't happen. It doesn't take any of the depression away. I mean, in life, someone's got to do stuff that you got to do, and that's just what it is to live. But the moment I do that, or I'm sitting there and I'm working on a spreadsheet and I'm trying to make the spreadsheet work and the formulas in it, the moment I start doing that kind of thing, or the moment I pick up my guitar and I'm strumming a few chords on the guitar and suddenly a melody comes into my head and a few lyrics come into my head, it is as though it kind of disappears and I get energized again. And the moment I start doing that kind of thing, it is just so energizing to me. I watch a lot of live concerts. My wife and I, before we had kids as well, we'd go to a lot of concerts because music was always, from all my hobbies, was my first passion as well. And I really, really love that. I mean, I was watching a documentary or something on TV the other day. And my wife and I were watching it, and I kept saying to my wife, "Look how well this thing was shot. Look at that. Look at that foreground." And she was going like, "What are you talking about?" Because I look at it creatively. I'm not. It doesn't mean that I look at it better. It just means I'm strung in a way that I see the creative side of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You see other people's effort.
I do see that, especially a creative effort. I do see that. It's not like I don't get my energies going to a gallery. Yeah, I get my energy of doing something for the gallery. You know what I mean? That's kind of.
So you, in that sense, then you see creativity as creating something would be the means to an end to find some sense of fulfillment, it doesn't really mean that it's necessarily that being creative in a lot of different aspects is what you're after and mastering all of those, but knowing that you can combine something and create something that fulfills something inside and kind of helps stave off negative thoughts and negative emotions, because you're putting something positive into the world.
I think in hindsight, it probably is that, but while you're doing it, you don't, it's never calculated like that. You know what I mean? So I For me, and I think you kind of almost alluding to it. To me, the buzz is often not so much the end product. I said before, I'm not South Africa's best presenter. I never will be. I'm not South Africa's best actor. I'm not the best singer. I'm not the best songer. I'm not the best anything. All right. It's the process of doing it that I get a massive kick out of. Do you know what I mean? When I'm standing there and the director says to me, okay, talk about this and talk about that and say this and say that. That's exciting. Okay, it might come out badly. All right, because maybe I forgot what he said or I forgot the lines or whatever the case is, but it's that process. And yes, it's nice to look at what you've done, and there is a sense of fulfillment in that. I really enjoy being creative and talking to creative people, even wacky creative people. Maybe I'm wacky, but I really enjoy that. You know, I find it very hard standing around a braai and talking about the Stormers performance last weekend. I mean, I can do that kind of talk, but it's not energizing for me.
My conclusion about creativity, it's never like the end goal for being creative is finding some type of fulfillment. But the actual fulfillment, if you try to quantify where it comes from, it doesn't come from the actual product. It comes from the interaction with other people's experience and feedback. And the creative process for me is the most stimulating of all. Just seeing how people create something, and then me reacting off of that effort, and then in the end I can just do something small and they appreciate that, and I see them go and create something else. So that is what I appreciate. The process
is what it's about.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. So I can only give a good example. I think you're spot on. I'm busy doing this virtual choir, and I sent out a message to the choir group on WhatsApp saying, guys, I'm so sorry. I can actually only work on this on weekends, and in the week I really can't work on it because obviously I've got my regular job to do as well. And people came back and said, oh, thank you very much for your effort, and thank you. And I found it quite weird because, first of all, I wasn't looking for a compliment, and secondly, it's not a hassle for me to do it. What I was basically just saying, I'm sorry that you have to wait for it. I wasn't going, oh, this is hard work, because, and I even said to them, it's not a labor of love. It's only love. I enjoyed it, and if I had it my way, I would only be doing that. So yes, I think for me, when it comes to creativity, is being creative for me is probably more fulfilling than the end product, because sometimes the end product can actually disappoint as well. I mean, I look back on some of my Loop or or whatever I've done, and I go, oh my word, Denvor, did you really do it like that? And oh, I could have done it so much better, and so that can sometimes be quite depressing. But the process of doing it is basically what I'm basically saying. I'm actually a fraud.
Oh well, we can end it there. We only have like a minute left. We can go. So we were talking about creativity in that sense. And especially now during lockdown, it's easier now to quantify what you have to work with in this lockdown situation. What advice would you give in light of what we spoke about to people to create more, to stay creative? How would you give them advice to cope better with what they're going through?
I think because the end result to me is not as important as the process, being locked down at the moment is a unique opportunity for us to experiment. So experiment with your creative gifts and talents. That which you always wanted to do, turn the television off, turn Facebook off, pull out a pen and paper or a piece of chalk or your guitar or your piano or whatever, is do stuff, that creative. I think I think we can't go anywhere. We can't go to the movies. We can't go and eat out. So what can we do now? We can either waste our time on social media and just watch movies until we're blue in the face, or we can actually write a piece of script, or write a play, or play on the guitar, learn an instrument, learn how to paint, how to hold a paintbrush. It's a great opportunity right now for you to experiment. No one needs to see your work. You will see how much you will get out of just being creative. Don't worry about the end product. Just get stuck in creating. That's what I would encourage people to do.
I think those are really wise words. I think the most I've ever learned from just somebody speaking about creativity was, or not even creating, but sharing a passion is more powerful for you, for your fulfillment, than the person you're actually sharing with. It came down to, but it's about literally some insubstantial, almost perceptible, almost perceivable thought and feeling you're trying to fruitlessly communicate to somebody else who will never appreciate what you're feeling in the same way. And yet it's the most human thing you can do to stay sane and stay fulfilled. And it's like riding a wave. If you're surfing, you'll never really be on the tip of that wave, but you'll be 99% there in the end, and it'll drive you to different locations, but you'll never be at the tip of the wave, because if you try to go to the tip of the wave, you drop off and you lose that energy. And it's the same with sharing any type of passion. You're never gonna really get a director's vision, no matter how hard the director tries, no matter how hard a producer tries to finesse a script. You'll never really know what went on in their head. And even then, if they talk about it,
Werner, I just want to say, I mean, you can put this in or not, but we must also just be, as a creative, and by no means have I ever, you're 100%, and by no means have I ever reached, the sort of top. I'm not a top creator or anything like that. But what I do want to say is we must also be careful and be way more measured and way more balanced about this. You're not going to find your ultimate sort of satisfaction in your creativity. It's not meant to do that. It's, our creativity is a gift that's been given to us. Some people are more creative than other people. Some people are more mathematical than other people, and so forth. So we all have these different gifts. But don't make your creativity and that which you've created the be all and end all. Because do you know what? If you put so much focus and so much value on the end product, you just have one person say, I don't like it. All right. No. And it's going to send you tumbling down. So be careful of that. Our art was never given to us to completely fulfill us. It is a fulfilling thing, I would say, to do. Instead of going, wow, look at those beautiful trees, look at this, which is nice, nothing wrong in saying that. Yeah. But the ultimate conviction is, wow, what a great creation of God. Then it kind of points the glory back to the originator of creativity and the author of life and so forth. I mean, it's
no, and for me, it's important to also delineate. For me, just for an audience sake, I'm gonna say something like very secular, but it's also acknowledging whatever comes to the person, whatever happens in their mind, for them to be able to create something. That in itself, for me, I might be a Christian, or I might believe a certain thing, but just in that, seeing somebody being able to create something, that's what is glorious to me. It is glorious. It is beautiful. Seeing what what beautiful process happens in somebody's mind, and something extraordinary comes from that. And that's how small these things that are incredibly beautiful can be.
We can enjoy these gifts, and that's the beautiful thing, that's a beautiful thing that God's given us. I mean, even this process of you and I doing this little video that's going to go up on your YouTube channel, I don't necessarily think I'm going to sit and watch the whole thing through, but I'm going to look up, because I'm curious to see how did it come out, because I love the creative part of it, but I'm also enjoying the making thereof as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that somehow, even in what I'm saying, is that the attention again is not, there's going to be attention on me because I'm being interviewed, but I'm saying the ultimate attention. That's why I like to bring in a sort of Corinthian saying that ultimately what we do, whether it's this interview, whether it's making videos and stuff, is where are we ultimately pointing at? And I mean, it's a slight different philosophy, a different worldview, but don't get me wrong, I really do enjoy the art of filmmaking. I do enjoy the art of whatever, I don't know, drawing, whatever, I really enjoy it, and I think we are called to enjoy it because it's been given to us, but use it responsibly.
I think the most important takeaway I would like to focus on about this, and I'm wrapping it up, I think creativity is definitely something we've been given, and through whatever you believe is important to you, and because you're, as speaking to the audience now, if you're a Christian or not, it's something that you have. It's what's in your wheelhouse. It's what you're working with, and it's kind of better in the long run for you to run with it, because what you can run with, that's what at the end of the day is going to drive you and take you further. Even if you don't believe in a God, it's definitely going to help you to stay creative with the area that you're in, with the space that you're in, with the people that's in your life. I just believe in a higher power. That doesn't mean I'm going to try to exclude anybody from achieving what they can, achieving what's possible for them. And I think creativity is definitely something that happens between people. It happens between audience and creator and creatives, and as a collective. And I want to thank you, Denvor, for this opportunity. I really appreciated it. Every time I do this, there's new things that pop up, new things that define creativity a little bit more, a little bit extra every time. And that's why I enjoy these interviews.
I just want to say thank you very, very much. Thanks for listening to my waffle and my hunting tequila and all over the place. Probably the curse of a creative, but I really appreciate it. Thank you for contacting me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and your audience as well. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Denvor, and thank you, audience, for joining in. Please like and subscribe and share. It really helps the channel. Every little view counts. And I really want to continue doing these things for you. And yeah, thank you once again.